The void of space stretched endlessly, a black canvas speckled with dying stars and newborn suns. Among it sailed the Ilythar Armada, a fleet of living ships shaped like dragonflies, their iridescent wings shimmering like liquid metal. On the bridge of the flagship Zephora, Queen Lirael hovered above the control sphere, her multi-jointed limbs tracing patterns only she could understand. Her golden eyes, cold and unblinking, studied the readings projected in mid-air. A human vessel had crossed into Ilythar territory. They dare enter our space without permission. Her voice, a harmonized resonance of 5 tones, made the hull vibrate. Around her, advisors stirred. Each of them, a queen of lesser rank, hissed softly in agreement. "We must teach them the cost of intrusion," said Varela, her twin crowns flickering like fire. Lirael's gaze lingered on the tiny blip on the projection. "Humans are primitive," she said, her tone almost amused. "But even primitives can be useful, as warnings." Meanwhile, aboard the human ship Aurora's Flame, Captain Ethan Hale leaned over the viewport, his eyes scanning the Ilythar fleet. His crew moved like a well-oiled machine, adjusting shields, analyzing alien patterns, predicting attacks. Ethan's jaw tightened. "They outnumber us 10-1, said Lieutenant Mirasolis, her voice steady but tense. "Do we even have a chance?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he watched the stars reflect off the alien hulls, each shimmer a silent threat. Finally, he said, "Maybe not, but they don't know what we're capable of yet." Below deck, the Aurora's Flame hummed with nervous energy. Engineers worked in near silence, checking every system. The humans were exhausted from months of patrol, of running from unknown empires, yet there was an unspoken fire among them, a quiet defiance that radiated in the hum of their ship. Back in the Ilythar flagship, Lirael's mind raced. She had heard stories of human unpredictability, of legends whispered among scouts. But stories were one thing. Reality was another. She flicked a claw, sending a wave of signals toward the human ship. A test, a probe, an intimidation. The signals hit the Aurora's Flame like a pulse of cold fire. Ethan felt the ship shudder, lights flickering. "Status," he barked. "Energy readings spiking, unknown emissions," replied Mira. It's like they're probing our thoughts." Ethan's pulse quickened. The Ilythar weren't just attacking, they were analyzing, studying them, calculating their weaknesses. "Then let's make them miscalculate," Ethan muttered, a spark of defiance lighting his eyes. Back on Zephora, Lirael's pupils narrowed. The humans didn't panic. They adjusted. They adapted. Already she sensed that this would not be a simple conquest. "Send the Empress Horn," she ordered. The Horn, a bioorganic weapon of mass destruction, would crush planets. But she hesitated. The humans' resolve was fascinating. On Aurora's Flame, the crew braced as the first massive energy wave hit. Panels sparked, alarms blared. Ethan's hands flew over the controls, rerouting power, stabilizing shields. Mira glanced at him, eyes wide. "Ethan, if this hits again, we're done." Ethan's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then we survive." "Because we have to." "And because they don't know us yet." Suddenly, from the depth of the Ilythar fleet, a shadow moved. Not a ship, but something alive. Something immense. The humans didn't see it, but the Ilythar did. An ancient organism, a predator queen older than most civilizations, approaching the Aurora's Flame silently, as if to swallow it whole. Lirael's mind pulsed with anticipation and unease. This wasn't just a test anymore. And deep inside, a flicker of respect, or was it fear, stirred. In the quiet tension of space, 2 civilizations faced each other. One brimming with pride, the other brimming with something far more dangerous, the unpredictable will of humanity. And then, without warning, the Predator Queen lunged. The Predator Queen moved like liquid shadow, slipping between stars, its colossal limbs reflecting the faint light of distant suns. On the Aurora's Flame, Ethan Hale's eyes widened as the ship's sensors screamed. "Captain! Object approaching, gigantic. Shields won't hold if it strikes directly," Mira shouted, fingers flying over the console. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we don't let it strike directly." He flicked a switch, activating a maneuver he had practiced only once before. A risky dance among gravitational currents and debris fields. The ship shuddered violently. Sparks rained from overhead conduits. Crew members gritted their teeth, gripping whatever they could. "We're burning too much energy," an engineer yelled. Ethan didn't flinch. Better to risk energy than die. The humans dove toward a nearby asteroid cluster. The Predator Queen followed, massive limbs smashing rocks aside. Each strike shook the Aurora's flame, sending vibrations through every hull plate. "Sir, it's calculating our patterns." Mira's voice trembled. "It's learning." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Then let's make it unlearnable." He slammed a command. The ship released hundreds of small drones cloaked in reflective panels, each mirroring the ship's energy signature. From the alien flagship Zyphora, Lirael watched in fascination. "Interesting," she murmured. "The humans confuse the Predator with illusions. They anticipate our strategy." Her voice was calm, but something within her, a feeling she rarely experienced, tightened. Curiosity. Admiration. The Predator Queen hesitated, scanning. It struck one drone after another, each exploding in controlled bursts of energy. But each strike brought it further from the real target. "Ethan, it's working!" Mira exclaimed, her usual calm breaking into awe. He allowed himself a brief nod. "For now." Suddenly, the Predator Queen emitted a shrill pulse, shaking the void itself. The drones flickered, some lost, but most held. The human's shield screamed in protest, bending under the alien's power. "Captain, I don't know if we can hold it," Mira whispered. Ethan's hands didn't stop moving. "Hold it, we will. We have to. Remember why we fight, because giving up is never an option. Not today." Below deck, the crew gritted their teeth. Exhaustion weighed heavily, but something unbreakable surged in their hearts, hope fueled by sheer determination. Every human aboard, from the youngest engineer to the grizzled navigator, acted as one. The Aurora's flame became more than a ship. It became a testament to human will. Across the void, Lirael's golden eyes glimmered. "So, humans survive even the impossible," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. Her advisor shifted uneasily. Respect was dangerous in the Ilythar Empire. It was a weakness. And yet, this primitive species provoked it. The Predator Queen lunged again, this time at the humans' makeshift decoy formation. Explosions tore through space, scattering fragments of rock and shattered drones. Ethan slammed the helm, twisting the ship at the last second. The Predator's massive limb grazed the hull, leaving scorched trails of iridescent metal. "Brace for impact," he yelled. A sudden jolt threw him forward, and a wall panel ripped loose behind him. Sparks flew. Mira caught him, and for a heartbeat their eyes met. A silent acknowledgement of trust, of shared defiance. Then the ship lurched again. The Predator Queen's shadow loomed, massive and terrifying, stretching across their viewport. The Aurora's flame shook as if it might crumble, yet the humans didn't scream. They didn't surrender. "Ethan," Mira's voice was quiet, almost awed. We might actually survive this," he gritted his teeth. "We will survive. Because humans don't know the word impossible. Not when our backs are against the void." Lirael's tentacles twitched. She could feel the human's stubborn spark even from the flagship. "Perhaps," she whispered, a trace of unease in her tone. "They are not what they appear." The Predator Queen paused. In that moment of hesitation, the human's ingenuity struck again. Ethan triggered the ship's experimental module, an electromagnetic pulse designed for escape, not attack. It expanded outward like a miniature nova, disrupting the Predator's sensors and the surrounding fleet's communications. Lights flickered across the Zyphora. Chaos rippled through the Ilythar formation. Lirael hissed, a sound that made the metal hull shiver. The humans, tiny, fragile beings, had just inflicted confusion upon the mightiest forces in her armada. On the bridge of the Aurora's flame, Ethan exhaled sharply. "Not out of the woods yet," he muttered. Mira nodded, her hands trembling slightly, but determination lit her eyes. Above them, the Predator Queen recoiled, not defeated, but challenged. It would return. The Ilythar would return. And Lirael, watching, calculating, knew this was only the beginning. The void returned to silence, but this time it was different. It held a warning, a pulse of tension that stretched across the galaxy. Humans were not to be underestimated. The void of space seemed to hold its breath. The Aurora's flame drifted among shattered fragments of asteroids and glowing drone remnants, its hull scarred, yet intact. Ethan Hale wiped sweat from his brow, his fingers trembling slightly despite years of command. "Captain, we can't keep doing this forever." Mira Solis said softly, leaning against a console. Her voice carried exhaustion but also determination. Every time we survive, they come back stronger. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then we make them hesitate. Humans have always survived by doing the impossible, by being unpredictable. He leaned closer to the viewport, watching the distant shimmer of the Ilythar fleet recalibrating. They think they can study us, predict us. Let's make them wrong. Below decks, the crew worked tirelessly. Engineers rigged improvised energy emitters. Weapons specialists recalibrated targeting systems, and even medics joined in, preparing emergency shock procedures. Each human moved with quiet precision, as if exhaustion was a concept they didn't recognize. Across the void aboard Zyphora, Queen Lirael's tentacles coiled around the control sphere. Her golden eyes reflected the human ship's scars, the faint glow of its engines, the audacity of its survival. "Impossible," she whispered. Her voice was a blend of disbelief and fascination. They survive, when they should not. Their will, it burns brighter than the suns of my homeworld. Varela, standing beside her, hissed in warning. "Majesty, admiration is dangerous. They are primitives. They cannot withstand us indefinitely." Lirael's eyes narrowed. "Perhaps, but perhaps they are more than we imagined." She extended a claw, tracing the human's path across the void. "Send scouts, not to attack, but to observe. We will learn, or be surprised." Back on the Aurora's flame, Ethan gathered his senior officers. "Listen," he said, voice firm, carrying weight beyond his years. "We've survived the first strike. That was luck, yes, but luck favors the prepared. We can't just react anymore. We need to force them to react to us." Lieutenant Mira nodded. "You mean counterattack?" "Yes," Ethan said, eyes hard. "We show them that humans aren't just survivors. We are strategists, engineers, fighters. We will hit their pride, their assumptions, their expectations. We will make them question every decision." Below deck, crew members glanced at each other nervously. They were exhausted. They had seen death's shadow dance over their ship. Yet Ethan's words sparked something deeper than courage. Defiance. Hours passed. The human ship repaired systems, recalibrated shields, and studied alien patterns like scholars studying beasts. Each calculation, each adjustment, built a lattice of resilience that the Ilythar could not yet decipher. Then, without warning, the first scout ship arrived, a smaller, yet terrifyingly fast vessel, bioluminescent limbs slicing through darkness. It circled the Aurora's flame, analyzing, probing, calculating. "Contact," Mira whispered. Her hand hovered over the console. "They're studying us. Again." Ethan's eyes glimmered. "Let them study. Then let's teach them something new." He initiated a deceptive maneuver. The ship split its energy outputs across multiple hidden thrusters, creating ghost signals that suggested movement in directions the ship wasn't actually going. The scout faltered. Its sensors blinked, confused. On the Zyphora, Lirael's eyes narrowed. "They trick us. Deliberately." Her voice was low, almost reverent. "Primitive, yet brilliant." The scout recalibrated and struck with a pulse designed to disable. Sparks flew across the Aurora's flame. Panels shattered, alarms screamed. But Ethan's crew anticipated it. Emergency fields absorbed the blow. The ship groaned but survived. Mira's breath caught. They can't keep doing this." Ethan's lips curved into a grim smile. "We don't have to. We only need to survive long enough to show them that humans are dangerous when cornered." A silence settled among the crew. Outside, the void was a canvas of destruction and survival. Inside, the humans' hearts beat in unison with one truth: they would not bow. Not to gods, not to monsters, not to queens who thought themselves invincible. On Zyphora, Lirael recoiled from the communication screen as another scout transmitted back data. Humans had adapted, countered, and thrived under impossible odds. Her advisors murmured warnings, but she waved them aside. "They are extraordinary," she hissed, "and the more we strike, the stronger they become. I must see this with my own eyes." In the quiet corners of the human ship, a young engineer whispered to herself, "We're really doing it. We're still here." Her voice carried awe and terror alike. They all knew the danger was far from over. Ethan stood alone for a moment, looking at the stars, the tiny dots of alien lights in the distance. He understood the truth now. Humanity was not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for respect, for recognition, for a place in the galaxy that no alien queen could define for them. And somewhere in the shadows of the void, Lirael's golden eyes burned with a new kind of awareness, an awareness that the humans' defiance might be the spark that changes everything. The Aurora's flame floated in the silent black of space, battered yet defiant. Its crew had survived impossible odds, but now a presence filled the void, a shadow larger than any star stretching across hundreds of kilometers. The human ship's sensors screamed, "Captain, sensors can barely register it." Mira Solis whispered, her eyes wide. "It's massive." Ethan Hale gritted his teeth. He had seen large predators before. He had faced storms and cosmic debris that would tear lesser vessels apart. But this was unlike anything he'd imagined. A living star of predatory power approached them, pulsing with alien energy, a queen from the legends of countless civilizations. "Hold your nerve," Ethan said, though his voice betrayed the tension coiled inside him. "Whatever happens, we keep moving. We survive." The Aurora's flame shuddered as the creature's shadow engulfed them. Space warped, gravimetric distortions twisting stars around the alien's immense form. On the flagship Zyphora, Lirael's golden eyes glimmered like molten metal. "See them fully," she whispered. "Not as signals, not as prey, but as humans. Let us see if the fire in them matches the stories." Her tentacles traced the void, coiling with purpose. The Predator Queen, her personal avatar, more ancient and deadly than any scout or drone, descended toward the humans with terrifying precision. "Status," Mira barked. "It's coming right for us." Ethan's fingers flew over the controls. Shields rose to maximum, thrusters burned at dangerous levels, weapons recalibrated. They think they can intimidate us. Let's prove them wrong. As the Queen approached, it emitted a pulse of psychic resonance. The crew staggered under the invisible force, some clutching their heads, others gripping the nearest railings. A chill like death ran down every spine. "Captain," Mira's voice trembled. It's probing our minds." Ethan exhaled sharply. "Then let's give it a story it can't predict." He initiated a feint. The ship emitted false energy signatures, split thruster outputs, and even jettisoned decoy modules rigged to explode. The Queen paused mid-lunge. Its golden eyes, like Lirael's, narrowed in confusion. Primitive, yet cunning. Lirael's voice echoed in Ethan's mind, a psychic ripple he didn't fully understand. They learn, and they adapt. The Aurora's flame twisted through asteroid debris, avoiding the Queen's limbs, using gravitational pulls to slingshot around her massive body. Each move was precise yet daring, a dance of desperation and genius. Below deck, the humans moved with unity that transcended fear. Engineers rigged emergency fields mid-flight. Medics stabilized crew members who fainted from psychic pulses, and navigators calculated impossible trajectories. It was chaos, but a controlled chaos fueled by sheer will. The Queen struck. Its claw, massive as a small moon, smashed a nearby asteroid. Shockwaves ripped through the void. The human ship trembled. Lights flickered, panels exploded. But somehow Ethan's calculations had anticipated it. The Aurora's flame dodged just enough to avoid direct destruction. "Too close," Mira gasped, gripping the railing. Ethan's eyes blazed. "Then we push harder." He activated an experimental weapon, a concentrated burst of ionized plasma designed to disrupt the alien's neural resonance. The energy lanced forward, striking the Queen. It recoiled, stunned, a soundless roar vibrating through the void. Lirael hissed in the flagship. They strike back. Deliberately. And effectively. Her advisors recoiled. "Impossible. Primitive beings." Ethan's crew cheered silently. Not for victory, they knew the Queen was far from defeated, but for survival. For proving that humanity could fight giants and live. The Queen recoiled further, circling the human ship, recalculating, sensing, learning. Ethan could feel the tension, the weight of destiny pressing down. "They're testing us," he muttered. "And we will test them back." Mira glanced at him, eyes full of admiration and fear. "We're really fighting a god?" Ethan nodded, a grim smile touching his lips. "No, Mira, we're not fighting a god. We're fighting for humanity. And humans. Don't bow to gods." The Queen's approach slowed, deliberate now. It wasn't just hunting. They were engaged in a battle of wit, strategy, and resilience. In the distance, the Zyphora watched, and for the first time, Lirael's pride and curiosity collided. Humans had survived the impossible once more. and now they would force the Ilythar to reconsider everything. The void was quiet, too quiet. The Aurora's flame floated among jagged asteroids, battered but intact, its hull streaked with scorched trails and glowing fissures. For a moment the crew allowed themselves to breathe, but Ethan Hale knew better. Silence in the presence of the Ilythar was never safe. Captain, sensors are picking up unusual energy fluctuations, Mira Solis said, leaning over the console. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed the tension threading every heartbeat. They're reorganizing, preparing. Ethan's fingers hovered over the controls. Not just preparing, he muttered. They're studying us, anticipating our next move, but now we fight on our terms. Below deck, the human crew worked feverishly. Engineers recalibrated shields to withstand psychic pulses. Navigators charted deceptive trajectories, and weapons officers adapted alien technology scavenged from earlier encounters. For the first time, humanity wasn't just reacting, they were strategizing. Sir, said Lieutenant Jaron Holt, a young tactical officer, we could use the asteroid field as a trap. If we manipulate the debris with controlled detonations, we could channel their attacks back at them. Ethan's eyes sparkled. Exactly. We turn their strength into their weakness. Humans survive by thinking differently. They expect us to run. Let's show them we can lead them into chaos. Outside, in the shadow of distant stars, the Zephora watched. Lirael's golden eyes narrowed as she observed the humans' pattern shifts. They adapt. Deliberately. Each action calculated. Primitive, yet cunning beyond expectation. Varela hissed beside her. Majesty, they are interfering with our scouts' reconstructions. If this continues, and they must continue, Lirael interrupted sharply. We will see how far their ingenuity reaches. Let them reveal the depth of their spirit. Her tentacles twitched with a mix of curiosity and unease. Back on the Aurora's flame, Ethan activated the first phase of the plan. Small asteroids were nudged with gravitational tethers and precision charges, creating narrow corridors of debris, funnels for the approaching predators. Mira glanced at him, tense. We're not just evading. They'll strike directly into the trap. Ethan nodded. Exactly. They will see an easy target, and we will show them it is anything but. Minutes passed. The Ilythar scouts approached cautiously, their energy readings pulsing across the ship's screens. The first one lunged at the decoy formation. Explosions rippled through the void. The scout faltered, entangled by shifting asteroids, its sensors scrambling. Now, Ethan shouted. The humans unleashed a coordinated barrage, plasma pulses, ionized projectiles, and electromagnetic bursts. The scout shrieked as energy arcs tore across its hull, forcing it to retreat. Below deck, the crew cheered quietly, though exhaustion weighed heavily on them. For the first time, they were not merely surviving. They were fighting on equal footing, proving humanity could turn intelligence and creativity into weapons. Lirael recoiled, watching the chaos unfold. Her golden eyes burned with a mixture of pride and irritation. They manipulate the battlefield. They are aware of tactics. No primitive species should, she faltered. Something within her coiled uneasily. Humans did not act like prey. They acted like predators in their own right, shaping their environment, predicting and countering in ways she had not anticipated. On the Aurora's flame, Ethan turned to Mira and the senior officers. This is only the beginning. They will strike again, but each time we survive, we grow stronger. They underestimate human creativity. And humans. Never forgive underestimation, Mira smiled faintly. You're right, Captain. They might be powerful, but they don't know what we're capable of yet. Ethan's jaw tightened. Not yet. In the void, distant shadows shifted. The Predator Queen, sensing the ambush from afar, recoiled and recalculated. The Zephora adjusted, sending signals, preparing for a larger coordinated assault. Lirael's voice rang in the psychic network, low and dangerous. Very well. Let us see the full measure of their defiance. If they survive this, I will witness them myself. If not, they will vanish as all pretenders do. The humans, unaware of the Queen's resolve, prepared for the next wave. They knew the Ilythar would return, fiercer and more cunning. But for the first time, fear did not paralyze them. It sharpened them. Ethan looked out the viewport at the black expanse, dotted with distant stars and glimmering alien lights. We're small, he whispered. But small does not mean weak. And humans. Humans never bow. The void held its breath, waiting for the next strike. And somewhere, Lirael's golden eyes glimmered with anticipation, fascination, and a grudging respect that she dared not name. The void trembled as Zyphora descended in full, a living storm of bioorganic metal, thrumming with alien energy. Ethan Hale gripped the helm of the Aurora's flame, watching the colossal shadow envelop the distant stars. The sensors screamed. The Predator Queen was approaching, but this time it wasn't alone. "They're coming for us, Captain," Mira Solis whispered, her voice trembling yet steady. "All of them." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Good. Then we show them what humans are capable of when cornered." Below deck, the crew braced themselves. Every engineer, medic, and navigator felt the weight of the moment. The greatest predator in known space, commanded by the galaxy's most feared queen, was about to strike. Yet amidst the fear, a quiet determination pulsed, human defiance raw and unyielding. On Zyphora, Queen Lirael's golden eyes burned with intensity. "Observe carefully, my scouts," she hissed. "See how they survive. Then I will intervene directly. Let them feel the true measure of the Ilythar," Varela hissed beside her. "Majesty, surely it is reckless. They are primitive. They cannot endure a direct strike." "They endure," Lirael snapped. "And if they do not, we will witness the consequences firsthand." The Aurora's flame moved with grace that belied its battered form. Ethan had devised a plan, a daring maneuver designed to exploit the predictable arrogance of Lirael's approach. He activated decoy systems, scattering false energy signatures, while the real ship slipped between asteroids, invisible to the Queen's initial scans. The Predator Queen descended. Its massive limbs cut through the void like knives. Psychic pulses shook the crew, threatening to fracture their minds. Ethan's hands flew over the controls. "Hold, maintain formation, channel the energy fields." Mira glanced at him, fear etched across her face. "Captain, it's almost upon us." Ethan's voice was calm, unyielding. "Then we surprise it now." From the shadows of the asteroid field, the Aurora's flame unleashed its full gambit. Electromagnetic pulses twisted the Queen's sensors. Ionized projectiles struck precise neural nodes, disrupting her coordination. Energy shields amplified, channeling residual power into localized detonations that shattered nearby asteroids, turning them into deadly projectiles. The Predator recoiled, massive limbs thrashing, its psychic shrieks vibrating across the ship. For the first time, Lirael's golden eyes widened in surprise. They are not merely surviving. They are fighting back with intent, strategy, and audacity. Below deck, the humans moved as one, anticipating each lunge, each psychic pulse, each calculated strike. Exhaustion tugged at their bones, but adrenaline and sheer will forged them into something greater than the sum of their parts. "Ethan, it's working," Mira shouted. "We're keeping it at bay." Ethan's jaw set. "We do more than keep it at bay. We make them question everything. Let them see that humans are not to be underestimated." The Queen lunged again, her massive form bending around the asteroid field, attempting to crush the human ship. Ethan activated the ship's last experimental protocol, a concentrated gravitic pulse designed to disorient anything larger than the vessel. The void around the Queen twisted violently. Massive limbs flailed uncontrollably as the field warped her movements. On Zyphora, Lirael hissed sharply, a sound of disbelief and awe. "Impossible. How can such fragile creatures manipulate the void itself?" Ethan's crew cheered silently. They were battered, bruised, and exhausted, but alive. And in that survival, they found something greater. The realization that fear could be mastered, that creativity could challenge even the oldest predator in the galaxy. The Queen recoiled, circling slowly, her golden eyes now tinged with respect and caution. Lirael's voice resonated across the psychic network, low and deliberate. "Remarkable, primitive, audacious. They endure when no species should, humans. You are far more dangerous than I anticipated." Ethan stood at the helm, breathing heavily. Mira placed a hand on his shoulder, eyes shining with shared triumph. "We did it. We survived her." Ethan shook his head. "We didn't just survive. We proved something, that even the mightiest can be challenged, that humanity's spirit is not for conquest but for defiance. And today, we've earned their attention." Outside, the void remained dark and infinite, but for the first time, humans were no longer mere pawns in a galactic empire's game. They were participants, unpredictable, unyielding, and undeniably dangerous in their own right. And somewhere in the silent distance, Lirael pondered, golden eyes glimmering with both admiration and unease. The humans were not merely survivors. They were a force that demanded recognition. The void shimmered with the wreckage of countless asteroids, the glowing remnants of ionized blasts, and the scarred hull of the Aurora's flame. Silence fell, heavy but charged, as if space itself waited to see the final act. Ethan Hale stood at the helm, his body exhausted, muscles trembling, yet his spirit unbroken. Mira Solis was at his side, her hands covered in soot, eyes bright with determination. Around them, the crew worked quietly to stabilize the ship, every movement precise despite the fatigue that threatened to collapse them. "They'll be back," Mira whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of failing consoles. Ethan's eyes scanned the void. He knew it too. "Yes," he said, voice steady. "And when they do, we won't just survive. We'll show them why humanity cannot be underestimated." From the darkness, a pulse of energy rippled through the void. The Predator Queen approached again, but this time it moved slowly, deliberately. Lirael herself hovered near the Zephora, her golden eyes fixed on the human ship. No arrogance, no fury, only calculation and strangely something new, respect. "They are remarkable," she murmured to her advisors. "Every move, every strategy, every defiance, it is extraordinary, perhaps. They are worthy of attention," Varela hissed in disbelief. "Majesty, they are primitive, yet they command the void with tactics and audacity. No species should withstand us this way." Lirael's tentacles twitched thoughtfully. "No species should, but they do. Observe, learn, and remember this day. Let it echo through the galaxy. Humans endure when all odds are against them. Humans fight when others flee. Humans cannot be dismissed." Back on the Aurora's flame, Ethan activated a final maneuver, a daring combination of decoys, gravitic pulses, and plasma bursts that forced the Queen to hesitate, something almost unheard of in the history of the Ilythar. The Predator recoiled, massive limbs thrashing, and the psychic resonance wavered. "Captain," Mira's voice trembled, awe and disbelief mixing. We actually made it hesitate." Ethan's lips curved into a grim smile. "We're small, fragile, and outnumbered, but we've never bowed. Not now. Not ever." Outside, Lirael watched in silence as the humans executed their strategy flawlessly. The Aurora's flame, battered yet intact, twisted and danced through the debris, each move daring, unpredictable, and lethal in subtlety. "They adapt. They survive. They innovate," Lirael whispered. Her advisors flinched at the tone of reverence in her voice. "A species that should have been prey has become a force to respect, and perhaps to fear." The Predator Queen slowly retreated, circling the ship but maintaining a distance. Every movement was deliberate, as if acknowledging a worthy opponent. For the first time in centuries, Lirael hesitated to strike. Humanity had earned a recognition few species had ever seen, the Ilythar Queen's respect. Ethan exhaled sharply, feeling the weight of every sleepless hour, every narrow escape, every calculated risk. Around him, the crew shared quiet smiles, eyes reflecting relief, pride, and the unspoken bond forged in fire and chaos. Mira reached for his hand. "We've survived all of it." "Yes," Ethan said softly, gazing at the stars beyond the hull. "And more than that, we've shown them that humans never yield, that we endure, we adapt, and we fight, no matter the odds. That is who we are." In the distance, the Ilythar fleet held position. Lirael's voice pulsed across the psychic network, resonant and unwavering. "Let all queens of the Ilythar hear this. Humans are not to be dismissed. Humans are not to be underestimated. They endure when others fall. They fight when others flee. And today, they have earned a place among the stars that none of us will forget." For the first time, Ethan felt the vastness of the galaxy shift, not in favor of the powerful, but in recognition of resilience, ingenuity, and indomitable spirit. Humans were fragile, yes. Outnumbered, yes. But their strength lay in something the Ilythar could not replicate: courage, creativity, and the refusal to bow. The void remained silent. The Aurora's flame floated among the remnants of chaos, battered but unbroken, and somewhere in that infinite darkness, the Ilythar queens had learned a lesson they would carry forever. Human men and women cannot not be underestimated. As the crew gathered on the bridge, Ethan looked at the stars, a quiet fire burning in his eyes. "We survived," he said. "And tomorrow we will continue to thrive. Because humans always rise." Outside, the Predator Queen lingered, watching, learning, but never again treating humanity as mere prey. A seed of respect had been planted, one that would grow unrelenting across the galaxy. The stars shimmered. The void held its breath, and in the silence, humanity's flame burned brighter than ever.